On today's episode of Wellness on the Rocks, my guest is an up-and-coming content creator here in the city of San Diego. She specializes in public relations and social media management and currently leads a team representing 13 plus brands, including Coach Karen, Gnarly Girl Pizza, Gilly's House of Cocktails, and many other hospitality-driven businesses across San Diego. Today, we discuss how social media has become the new word of mouth in hospitality, what actually drives people through the door, and how to grow a business without burning yourself out or losing your values along the way. She's a young, hungry creator who's making a name for herself and is definitely someone to look out for in this industry. Welcome to Wellness on the Rocks, CEO and owner of Garcia Media Works, Rain Garcia. Okay, yeah. And I don't have a fucking cameraman.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm a one-man band with this shit.
So there's only one way of knowing.
But it's fun, dude. Yeah, I just like the creative process. I like, some people are painters, some people are mixologists. I fucking was not really good at a lot of that stuff. So I kind of have been like a big fan of podcasts over the years.
Yeah.
And I always thought like, it'd be kind of cool to try that, to put your creative spin into the conversation. And when I was 25, I actually did like a little sports podcast with my friends.
Oh, cool.
But, it is really challenging just from like the logistics aspect, from like getting everybody together and timing and doing like a group project and stuff. So it's just like everyone's showing up late, and it's just like it crashes unless everyone's like really committed.
Yeah.
And you got to like fucking pay people and stuff like that. And it just gets transactional.
Yeah.
So
Which we will be talking about.
Yeah, for real, dude, because that's a big part of this business. But I just decided, I said, you know what? I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to learn to edit, to there's so many aspects to this stuff.
Yeah.
Whether we're talking about, prospecting, reaching out to people like you who are in the creative world and the restaurant world, from planning to setting up the studio with the lighting, the editing, the actual recording and stuff, dude. It's a beast.
It is. Yeah. But it's really fun though. Like you said, it's a good outlet. People wouldn't think that it's like it's not painting, but I think it's really fun.
It is. You know what it is, dude? I feel like it gives me something to pursue. It's like something to pursue.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense. But it's like, I was an athlete growing up. So I was like very like goal and task oriented.
Yeah.
So it's like, dude, I need to there's a basket. I need to score the basket. There's somebody there. I need to stop them from scoring the basket. So like, I don't really, once you get to the professional world and you're working in a bar, that becomes like, oh, there's customers. I need to get as many customers as I can.
Yeah.
But like you do that for so many years and it's like, you just keep trying to level up and grow. And the creativity and the podcasting is like the next level for me. Like, now can I grow this podcast?
Yeah.
That's like my fucking goal. And like, that's what you're doing with your Garcia Media Works social media platform.
Yep.
How did you, when did you start wanting or thinking that like, I want to get into this sort of work and something that you want to pursue as a career?
So I didn't decide it was a career until basically right before I graduated. I graduated from SDSU in 2024.
Okay.
But everyone my age, basically, like, Gen Z growing up technology, it was like everyone wants to be an influencer. We all have a phone in our hand and like that's the dream job. And, before that, everyone wants to be a YouTuber and, whatever. And I remember like the study came out maybe like 5 years ago and they were asking like 8 to 11-year-olds, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it used to be astronaut, lawyer, whatever. And they were all like, I want to be a YouTuber. I want to be Jake Paul. Like that's the new thing. And so I remember in 2018, TikTok had just transitioned from the app like Musical.ly, which was fully like dances kind of thing. And it was not cool to have. It was kind of like, ooh, that's cringy, you're on it. But I was posting on it for fun. And I got like a pretty good following. I was doing like fashion content at the time.
Okay.
And it was just fun. I did some like brand deal stuff. And then I went to college, got my degree was going to be in public relations. I originally wanted to be a journalist and then decided, PR. And I came home for summer break. They moved us out of the dorms. And I worked a retail job at like a mom and pop and I was really bored. It was really slow. And I asked like, can I make the store like a TikTok profile just for something to do? And I was kind of using the strategy that I was using for myself. At the time, I didn't realize it was a strategy. And they ended up going viral. And then I kind of had this moment of like, I don't need to be an influencer myself. I can make other businesses influencers. And then I freelanced and realized that that was social media management and it was a career and people actually do it.
So you had a job and you were bored and you're like, let me see if I can like, it's sort of like that your mind was like, I got to find something to do.
Yeah. I
And you
needed
were
some
like-
kind of outlet.
Or like stimulation or something to like go after. It's kind of like the same thing. That was me at the bar. I was like, dude, I'm kind of bored and I need to take this up a little bit.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So you said you wanted to do journalism and then you wanted to go to PR. What's kind of the difference between that?
So journalism was what my original major was.
Okay.
And the first weekend I changed to PR.
Okay.
Journalism, there's just not a lot of money in that anymore.
Okay.
Like traditional, like being a journalist or like writing, those sort of things. And PR, I kind of describe it as like marketing without any money. So you're basically like a part of a PR agency and you have a client
Yep.
and you'll go to journalists or media outlets or whatever and you'll say, hey, I have this client. Will you write about them or publish about them? Pretty please. I'm not going to give you any money. I'm just going to ask you to do it and hopefully you do it for your magazine or whatever.
So you're representing bar A and you go to magazine B and say, can you do, so you're like the middleman kind of the business transaction person. Okay. Interesting.
And I was doing that in school and I realized when I was kind of about to graduate, I was like, I just don't think I like this. And I was already freelancing. And so then I kind of realized I had a mentor at the time and she was like, what are you going to do when you graduate? And I was like, oh, I have like a part-time gig, lined up at a PR agency, but I think I want to lean into like being a social media manager and like make my own business.
Well, it sounds like it's a really big part of what you're doing is like the relationship. You're kind of in like relationship building.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've learned that's like huge in this business.
And I always say like I would not be anywhere or as close to where I am without the relationships that I've made and like the networking. And I say the best thing I got out of college was my network.
Yep. That's what they say.
Yeah.
That is what they say. That was tough for me, dude. I just drove out to San Diego with my 2 dogs and a surfboard and was like with no job or apartment. It was new. It's 2 girls I went to middle school with who I still haven't even run into since I've been out here. And I've had to like, it's been one of the hardest parts about doing this.
It's really hard.
It's like, so right now I'm in the process of like networking and making new friends and trying to professionally introduce myself, professionally work my way into this business and industry, and show people like, dude, this is worth your time.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. And like you said, there's like professional and then there's friends and then the overlap of it all. And it's hard making those relationships.
Listen, yeah, absolutely. So listen to me. I'm at a bar with a bunch of customers who are all my age, and like you become friends with some of them, you date some of them, but then they're also your customers. And it's like you're hanging out drinking beers on the weekends, but it's like, so yeah, it's challenging. Like I'm going to an event tonight with a bunch of people and there'll be a bunch of my customers there. And it's like, do you put on the friend face where I'm letting loose and talking about like life and everything, or do I give you my professional side?
Yeah.
And that's something that when you're like a brand ambassador or you're managing a bar, you have to like, those are things in this big industry hospitality city that you hear people talk about. It's kind of, it's not like the hardest thing, but
you have to tiptoe it. It's like, do I really know you? Am I going to accidentally burn that bridge if I say something or like, you know?
I was at a bar a few weeks ago and I was fucking shit-faced and I told the bartender to go fuck himself, and I think he's going to be at this event tonight, so
perfect.
So
I'm sure he cannot wait to see you.
So yeah, anyways, but that's cool. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you today, and just the ability to pick your brain and sort of like connect with you on, it's like you have this hospitality podcast and you're coming at this industry from the social media aspect, growing sales, trying to bring traffic in and revenue and stuff like that. So I thought it'd be cool just to like talk to you and to pick your brain a little bit.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think it'll be fun and a cool angle to kind of show of this industry.
Yeah, dude. I think that I just have a couple creative questions for you. Like, when you first walk into a bar, right? Like, let's say you've already set it up, you've already built the relationship. Let's say, all right, let me backtrack a little bit. What's one of your biggest clients right now? Like Gillies?
I wouldn't say biggest, but they're a favorite.
Okay, favorite.
And they're the oldest. I was still freelancing when I had them.
Okay, what's like one of your biggest clients that you work with?
I have an executive business coach that we represent.
Oh,
and
nice.
She's high up there for sure.
So when you are working content for this executive business coach and you show up on site, like what creatively, like what goes through your mind that says, how can we best show and represent this person on the social media? Like, can you kind of just take me through that creative process?
Yeah. I think, when I have an onboarding call with any client, that's like the first step. We get the contract signed. We get the first month of payment because I learned the hard way. If they pay you at the end of the month, they might not after they got everything. So we get upfront payment. And then we have an onboarding call. And in that, it's kind of like, who's your target audience and what are your goals?
Okay.
Is it just, do you just want numbers? Do you want like vanity metrics? Because some people just want that. Do you want, what's your ROI? What's that going to be? How do I know that I did a good job? And so is it followers? Is it people who buy your book? Is it, for her, it's coaching clients, and everything else funnels to that. And so it just kind of depends on the client. If it's a brick and mortar business, it's getting people in the door to spend their money. And then from there, we make the strategy. So then it's, how do we do that? What are our content pillars? What platforms are going to work? That sort of thing.
Got you. Okay. So you just the ones that I kind of looked at your website. I saw some of the people you work with. You're working with Gnarly Girl Pizza.
Yep.
Which is a great spot. I've definitely had some drunk slices at there a couple times.
Best pizza in San Diego. I'm biased, but I was going there before they were a client. So.
It's cool, man. The people are nice there. They always have a big smile, and they say, hey, what's going on? It seems genuine from them. I always kind of try to connect with genuine people like that. But let's say you walk in there and they say, all right, we're now in December. Christmas is coming up. Like, what's the first thing you kind of like think about? Like, how are we going to create that? Do you have a system, or is it different for everything? Like, Gnarly Girl Pizza calls you, Rain, we need you in here tomorrow to create content. It's December. What are you thinking?
So usually, if they have something that they want featured, that's always part of it. So like, for example, they're selling gift cards. Okay, I know that. And on the weekend I think they're making shepherd's pie. Like, this is a real life example of what's going to be in the case over the weekend, right?
Yeah.
So then it's, first of all, we already have our content calendar booked out. So our clients get the calendar for the following month, the third Friday. So she already knows everything that's going to be going up in December. It's all approved. Some clients don't look at it, but it's good for us to know. So that way we're not just posting off the cuff,
Yeah.
But then it's going, okay, we have these things we want to slate in. Okay, it's last minute. The calendar's kind of already made. What are we going to move around? And then when we're making that calendar, December's one of my favorite months to make content for, because holidays, there's New Year's Eve, there's Christmas, that festive season building up. There's a bunch of different ways you can do that. Gift yourself the gift of pizza, or, the windows are painted festive right now. So have you come to this San Diego pizza place? Get a slice and festive vibes. And so honestly, it's easier because there's just more things you can post about for a lot of clients during the holidays.
Right, for the holidays, the seasonal stuff like that, absolutely. I saw recently that there's so many things we could talk about today. There's this not new thing, but what all the bars are doing, a lot of the bars are doing right now, they're going holiday lights, Christmas festive. There's companies that they hire that come in, they spend thousands of dollars and they deck the bar out. And I've worked at those bars back in New Jersey and New York City, and it's great what they do. And now it's like where social media is going with how the Instagram works and the collaborations and stuff. What these influencers like you are doing, or maybe not like you, but other influencers are going, we're going to hit all the bars with the best Christmas lights. And so now say I have bar A and we pay somebody $2,000 to come in, or whatever that number is, 1,000, 1,500, $5,000, whatever it is, to deck us out. Now the influencer comes in and goes, these are the top 5 bars with the Christmas lights. And I see my friends on there. And it's like, it's this big networking thing. And it's like, it's like this big strategy. And I know I'm kind of breaking down it's like pretty obvious to some people, but it is interesting to think about from like, I work at a bar's perspective, and like from your position, it's like, that's where you go like, all right, dude, how do we it's just like, I don't know. I always just think about this stuff like from the back ends and like how to fucking grow this stuff and how to get sales in. Cause like that is where the industry is right now with the restaurant industry and how the economy is and the rise of costs. It's really, the restaurant industry is struggling. So it's like people are getting creative with how they bring in traffic.
Totally.
So like, I don't know, when I used to shoot social, I ran 2 different bars, Instagrams back in New York and New Jersey. And I always tried to focus on the people. I always thought that like when you're taking a video of somebody or making, a photo, it's like people want to see people. Oh, that person looks like me. Maybe I'll go visit them. Oh, look how much fun these people are having, and that's a little bit more tricky to get than like a product. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think, like you said, a lot of bars are doing Christmas pop-ups. I was at one yesterday.
I saw that on your social media.
Yeah.
Where was that?
The Grass Skirt in PB.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they do a little like holiday pop-up every year. And I think it's a good strategy for getting people in the door. So like Gillies, for example, I help with their events, and the main goal of their events, obviously, to get people in, have fun themes, but it's a way to get people in that may not come normally.
Gotcha.
So it's like one of my ideas, I'm not a Swiftie, but we had a Taylor Swift night. And there was a line down the block because she has a cult following. And it got people that maybe aren't the normal demographic into the bar. And they're like, oh, this place is actually really cool. I'm going to come back again on like a non-theme night. Or this cocktail was great. I got one of the custom ones. And then, this is the best old fashioned I've ever had. I'm going to come back. So like the Christmas pop-up is a good way to filter. And obviously you get new people in, you get money and all that stuff, but you get repeat customers.
Hopefully you can build that connection with them to say, oh, this is going to be a customer we're going to see over the next year.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude, absolutely.
And hopefully, it's like if these people are coming in for this, you better hope they have a fantastic experience so that way they come back.
Yep. It's you don't want to be a one hit a hit and run. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's like, how do you build on that to get that customer to keep coming back? Yeah, dude. I remember when I was sitting there, I was bartending and running the social media page. We used to have at this bar in New Jersey called the Whiskey Priest. We had these pouch cocktails with the little swirly straws. It's like really looks nice, and people love them and stuff. And I just remember I would post the photos with the pouch with the bar name in the background, try to make it look cool. And I remember one day there was like a group of like 4 girls, and they came in and they were ordering rounds of pouches, and they're like, oh, we saw on Instagram the pouches and we wanted to come try it. And at the time, I think I was getting like something so small, like $10 a post. And like that $10 post just made you $250.
Yep.
So it's like, it's an interesting business strategy.
Well, and like you said, seeing it on Instagram, I always say this to potential clients. Social media is the new search engine. Yeah. And so we utilize a lot of like SEO, search engine optimization, in our posts. And there's a bunch of different ways to do that. But people aren't really going on Yelp or Google best brunch or best bar in San Diego. They're going on social media.
Yelp is dead.
Yeah, Yelp is dead already for so many different reasons. People only go on there to leave hate. But going on social media, and then you see those influencers. And they're like, come with me to the da-da-da-da-da-da. And maybe it's not good, but it's getting people in, and maybe they don't come back, but that's how people are finding things.
You got to go fishing. You got to shoot. Yeah, dude. I met this person at Waterfront Bar the other day, out of towner from, East Coast. And they go, I went on TikTok. What were the best dive bars in San Diego? And then boom, that they end up in that seat.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's kind of hard to this is another question I had to you. How do you monitor whether your work and social media is actually getting people to come in? That's got to be a tough conversation with the people paying you, right?
Like the return on investment?
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, correlation does not equal causation, but if we're having an event and the post was shared, this is a real analytic, 1,800 times, and there's a line down the block, you can put 2 and 2 together, right? That it was this post that I made, this promotional thing, or even if it's just a video that's not for an event going viral, it's like, oh, and we had a really big surge the next day. Same for Gnarly Girl. Yeah. I got a text the other day that was like, did we have a video go viral? Because it's been packed. And it's like, yeah, we actually did. This has 80,000 views, fantastic. Another thing that I do that's not very traditional, but I'll go to the bar when there's events and stuff, and I'll walk around and be like, oh, it's so, network, chat with people.
Yeah.
Best way to talk to people, you compliment something, they'll usually compliment you back. I'm like, I love your shoes. Thank you so much. I love your hair. Da, 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 da. And then it becomes, how'd you find out about this?
Yeah.
And then they pull up a screenshot on their phone. Oh, I saw this TikTok. Well, guys, that was me.
Yeah. I think that takes work and effort and time to do. But in your position, if you're there just having a drink on your off night, it's that you're kind of, if owners and management and teams see you do that, they see that you're putting in time and care and work, and that is good. It's you're continuously building good relationships with that people, as opposed to just taking a couple of photos and fucking off for a while.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Even when I'm in there filming, I'll go film just B-roll content or whatever, at 2 p.m. when the bar first opens, there's regulars sitting in there and they see a girl with a tripod and a crazy light and they want to talk. Yeah. So then it's I'm filming. Okay, let me take a break. I'm going to sit down, explain to them what I'm doing, ask how their day is. And then we still have that kind of rapport and relationship, as opposed to not being a familiar face, I film, I don't care who's there.
You almost become you're part of the story. You're part of the bar. And let me tell you, so I've done this podcast in a couple bars, and dude, you start bringing out camera equipment, you get the attention of the entire room. And it's like a good way it's a good conversation starter because people are interested. Who are you? Are you from the news? Oh, you have a podcast. Oh, you do social media. Let me check you out. Boom, follow. And it's like, we're in this world of connectivity, and it's like, it's only fucking growing.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
even me, like I work in the industry, but if I see someone walking around with a vlog camera, I'm like, who is that? Are they a YouTuber? Like, what's their deal? Like, either I'm going to ask or I'm just going to think it in my head and be inquisitive.
I think there's a couple ways to think about it. Like, there's me working in a bar. I like to lay low and just sort of like be to myself. But from a business perspective, it's about attention and getting people's attention and getting people to notice you and follow you and spend money on you. And it's a transactional thing, but I get it from both sides.
Yeah.
You know?
And it doesn't have to be transactional, you know, at the end of the day, but it is by starting to get there. And it's helped me get out of my shell a little bit, like going into a room where I know not a single person.
Yeah.
And then I leave with 13 new Instagram followers and I handed out my card 20 times.
Good for you, dude. Were you like super shy growing up?
No.
Oh, no. Oh.
Anyone you ask would say no, but I think, you know, there's a difference between raising your hand in class and whatever, or then, you know, still walking into a room and saying like, I know what I want out of these people. I don't want it to feel transactional.
Yeah.
That's kind of nerve-wracking, especially, you know, if you're somewhere and everyone else knows someone. How do I insert myself into those conversations? That's a little awkward.
It is. And we got to like, yeah, it's tough to like try to like push your way into these groups, especially being a young female in these bars. You walk into some of these dive bars as like a 23-year-old and you get a different look than when you're a 34-year-old bald guy.
Even not in dive bars. Like I've had that experience where I get belittled or discredited because I'm young and I'm a woman and, you know, I like to wear fun outfits and I have bright red hair and it's like I get looked down or discredited sometimes to my face, which is very interesting. Yeah.
Do you deal with that often?
Often enough to where I think I could bring it up kind of thing. You know what I mean? Where it's...
What are some ways that you would... So you're at post-college. Like if somebody's coming into the industry now, what has worked for you to sort of set your, like, professionally build boundaries to some of those guys or older girls, men, because women can be catty too.
Totally,
let me tell you, like, what do you think has been helpful for you to sort of like set those boundaries in those situations?
I think, you know, from the beginning, obviously, like you said, like for men, you know, I think I have a pretty good bullshit radar, you know, for anyone. And sometimes there are noticeable things where it's like, oh, I'm interested in your services. Let's talk. But it's like, no, you don't. You want to find an excuse to go get a drink and it's uncomfortable and whatever. And then, you know, same for women, like the feeling threatened and all of that and being kind of catty and passive. But I also think some of the best relationships I have in business are with women. And so getting past that initial, you know, internal misogynistic, maybe competition that maybe we've felt from a patriarchal standpoint and getting past that, it's like, okay, those are fantastic relationships.
So, yeah, you're absolutely right. There's competition within this shit, with bartenders too.
Yeah, I feel like that industry's another like exact example. Like who's getting the most tips on a shift, who's bringing regulars, like,
or even just like, you know, this San Diego is a huge hospitality city because of the convention center, because of it's Southern California, because of all these things, and a lot of these bars consider themselves to be industry bars.
Yes.
Or like I know New York City is huge, Miami, some of the big cities, but the tight little, like for some reason, there's a big hospitality is like a huge industry in the city. And so a lot of bars are hospitality bars. And you go out and there's all you recognize bartenders from all over the place. And it can get like chesty. Guys are like, oh, he works for that bar, or he works under that company, or he's from Consortium Holdings, or he's from the hotel fine dining, fuck that guy, or he's at a dive bar, he's not cool enough to sit with us. I can only imagine that, like, as a woman walking around with your camera and trying to professionally introduce yourself to people, that it can get like that sometimes.
And I think it's a balance of some people will look at me and they're like, oh, she's young. She must know everything about social media. Fantastic. That's who I want. And then there's obviously the inverse of it of she's young. She must not know anything about business or this or that. And here comes this Gen Z with the camera, you know? So it depends on the person.
You get profiled pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's something that like we all have to kind of work through, you know? Because like I got that when I first got behind the bar. So like I'm at the bar, I work at Stout Public House, Irish bar down outside the gas lamp, and everyone I work with is in their 50s.
Yeah.
or late 40s. And so I showed up, I was 30. And I had to deal with that of the customers being like, oh, this is the young guy who we can kind of like mold a little bit. Like, we're going to show him how this bar is. And it's like, you have to be able to build that professional, like, no, you guys are not in charge. You might have been a customer here for 15 years, but like, I'm the one who works here, and it's like setting the tone.
How'd you find that? Like the balance of still like, I want you to come back and I want your
tough.
tips, but I also don't want to change who I am.
Yeah, that was, that's something that I had to address. And I felt like there was a time where I was like, oh, everyone thinks that, not everyone, but like there was this awkward energy where when you're the one bartender and there's 15 regulars, they have this sense that they can sort of create the environments. And so whatever bar you're in, there's always the balance between like, I'm working here and they're the customers. And there's like this pushback of like, who's in control or who is the alpha or the number one, you know what I mean? And, guys will try to take control of the environments. And sometimes you have to put your foot down and fucking set the tone and be like, dude, shut the fuck up, sit the fuck down. Here's a beer and a shot. You're not this little awkward energy that you two guests are having. That's going to end right now. And I don't like, or you're both fucking out of here, because there is this like ego thing that happens in bars where people will always push the boundaries.
Yeah.
So that doesn't really stop. It's like, you got to learn how to control that. And I think it's just by like, sometimes you cross a line. And you got to find that line by asserting like your I don't want to say dominance, because that's a little over the top, but it's like asserting control and like establishing, I think what happens is customers, whether any bar, will go in and they sometimes feel they have this like control because they know that they can just be like, what's your name? I'm writing a fucking Yelp review, or I'm going to control. And when you work in some of these, gas lamp bars, dive bars, neighborhood bars where people have, it's not as like, fine dining tablecloth. But even then it happens in those places too. There's this like power imbalance, and it's like standing your grounds and having the confidence to tell a large group of people, like it just comes with time.
Yeah.
And it comes with repetition. You know, and it's something that you never really figure out. Even the guys I work with in their 50s, it's like new things pop up all the time. And you have to have that problem solving mindset of like, how do we handle this situation? And any job in a restaurant, whether you're on the line in the kitchen, whether you're managing a restaurant, whether you're doing social media, new things and problems come up.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of problems, like getting like hate comments or things like that. Like, for example, the bar that I work for, there was a big rumor, like San Diego Reader, I think, posted something. They ended up retracting it, saying that I'm not going to say what group, but they were saying that the bar got bought by a hospitality group.
Okay.
And it was like,
happens, things get reported
totally.
on,
Well, and things got, they tore out the carpet that was gross, and they put, it looked elevated. It's still a dive bar, but it's elevated. It's a little different aesthetically. And some people were still like, okay, we don't care. Like, this is great in here, whatever. And then there was a subgroup that was kind of just like, fuck this place. Like hospitality groups are taking over, and, people have different perspectives on that. But it got a group of people really, really mad, saying, like they're taking over our community. Everything's going to get so expensive and accessible, et cetera, et cetera. At the bar, you can still get craft cocktails for really cheap and a beer and shot for really cheap. But I had to use my like PR background, and I still do to this day. Like, we'll get a straggler comment that's like, F this place, it's bought by, a hospitality group. And there's a way of like diffusing and being like, hey, that's actually not true, but still being like, we'd love to have you back in and
how do you
experience
turn
the
them?
new, turning them.
How do you turn them? Because you can't tell them just like, you're wrong, you're dumb, go away. You have to eat crow a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and you're representing a business, you can't just be like, okay, you're wrong, go fuck yourself. It's like, hey, we'd still... Right. PR language, that's actually not true. We're actually this, it's actually, the vibe here is very different. We would love for you to come see it and hope you come in sometime.
Right. Yep. I see that a lot.
And that's a balance you have to figure out.
Yeah, it's tough, dude. So yesterday, I don't know if you saw this in the social media news. There's a bar around here that the Long Story Irish Pub. Did you see that? Mm-mm. So their owner got on social media last night. And
That's never good.
Yeah, I know. So my friend sent me the video. I watched 3 seconds. So I said, oh. And they said, we've been under hard times. We can't keep the bar going. And we need a GoFundMe for $40,000 or the bar's going to close down.
Okay.
And you see all these people commenting good things, bad things. And, that's a tough situation to be in. I'm never going to clown on somebody for having a business that's hard to, like everything I've said, this is a really challenging industry. And some of the people were supporting him. Some of the people were clowning the business. And you know what? He's on there replying to these people. Look, I'd love to change your mind. Come on in. How can we fix this? You had a bad meal. Let me come in and buy you another one. And it's like, those are the things that in life, I'd love to tell people to go fuck themselves. But when you're representing a business, you have to be professional and spin it.
Yeah, I can't be a little keyboard warrior behind the screen. I
fucking hate the keyboard warriors.
You got to take a deep breath and figure it out. Because also I tell clients this, they're like, why am I getting so much hate on this post? And it's like, okay, you have 15 hate comments, right? 17 comments in total. 2 of them are supportive, but you have 300 likes. A lot of people are just like, oh, passive consumers. Oh, I love this video and I love this place. Great. It's the people who don't have anything else going on. It's like, I'm going to take the time to comment hate. And then it kind of feels more hateful, but it's just like the people who really support you, they also just have things going on and aren't going to waste time being a little keyboard warrior.
Yeah, so it's almost like the majority of the things you see are oftentimes negative.
Yeah.
That sucks, dude.
It's not the majority by any means, but in certain, I don't even know how to explain it, but it's just, they're always louder.
Yeah.
Not always. We get and it's not a majority. It's just on some posts for certain clients, but a majority, especially our hospitality clients, the amount of comments that are love is like, this place is fantastic. It held up to their viral video, I'm coming back, or they're tagging their friends. Like, that is a majority of what they see. And also when we pick clients, I don't take clients that I don't believe in.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that. How do you choose who you work with?
I think, I'll have clients and I'll have calls where I just don't think they're going to be a good fit for whatever reason. Some of it's maybe just energy. Some of it's their goals or what they do or what they represent that I'm just not comfortable with ethically. I've been put in situations like everyone on my team are women. We have first generation women, all these people. And if your account is spewing something that doesn't align with that, no amount of money is ever going to be worth sacrificing my values. That's just who I am.
That's the same with me, dude. I try to work with character-driven people. I want to connect with people on here who are, it's less about how great of a bartender you are or how great of a hospitality person you are, more are you a decent person? I think that's important because you do meet a lot of people in this fucking industry who are just assholes.
Well, piggybacking off of that too, it's hospitality-wise, from my perspective, it's a lot easier to sell somewhere if the cocktails are good or the food's good. Because it's you just got to get people in the door and then, okay, they're staying forever. And it's a lot harder if it's something that's not living up to what I can produce. If I get a video that gets 300 people in the establishment and they all have a bad experience.
Right.
That's not going to work for anyone.
Going forward, you're from a business perspective.
Yeah.
Has that happened to you or?
Thankfully, no.
Yeah.
But I've heard of people where it happens. Like I said, I'm picky with my clients,
Yeah.
Let me come in and see the atmosphere. Let's have our onboarding call in person.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I would love to, chat over some food or, a drink or whatever. And that way, when I leave and I send my follow-up email, I appreciate your time so much. I don't think we're going to be moving forward, but I, hope to stay in touch.
Yeah. Because there's definitely places I go into and I'm like, I would never want to work here. Or this isn't really because I would imagine some people reach out to you who are not doing so hot.
Yeah.
And it's well, you can only help so much,
Well, and like I said, if you're not doing great foot traffic wise, but you're, an untapped gem that just people don't know about and you're fantastic, I can fix that problem. 110%. But if someone comes in and it's dirty or it's not good, that's not up to me. And it's an integrity thing. I don't feel comfortable posting, this is the best drink I've ever had, and it's bad because it also, at the end of the day, if someone looks into the agency that's posting that,
why would you want to work with them if they're just being bullshit?
Yeah, it's okay, they're not telling the truth. If I'm going to hire them, I don't want to work with them anyway. From a different perspective, okay, Rain's company doesn't have integrity and she'll do anything for a buck, and that's just not what I want to portray.
What would your advice be for if there's a bar that has an older clientele? A lot of the really great old school bars in this city are tailoring towards like people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. For example, there's a bar in we go to called Sardinia's. It's an Italian restaurant.
Okay.
And it's probably one of my favorite places in the city. When I go to the bar there, I'm the youngest person by like 20 years. And those customers aren't on social media.
Yep.
Like, what would you do if a bar like that reached out to you and was like, we're trying to start our social media presence? Like, what would you, but none of our clients are on social media. We don't have one.
So the thing is you said their clients aren't. Those are people that are already in there.
True.
And so like you said, the hospitality industry is kind of having a hard time. You know, if people choose to spend their money that they've been working really hard for and have a night out and get a sitter and do whatever, you know, you want to give them the best experience possible. And it's getting, like I said, those new people in there, you know, that way, if, you know, your clientele doesn't have extra money right now, or say like they're older and they're not getting Social Security or anything like that, you want to still, from a business perspective, get new people in. And at the end of the day, that clientele will eventually age out. You hope the business does not.
Okay, good. So it's like that constant idea of like reaching out for new audiences, trying to grow and trying to get new people that weren't coming here.
Yeah. And then it's still, you know, being sort of consistent with the vibe, and you don't want a bar that's specifically 60-year-olds that has 20-year-olds coming in there. Like
I do know some of those bars.
The regulars aren't going to love that. But, you know, from a business
perspective.
perspective.
Place in Del Mar called Jimmy O's where you can find that culture there.
Yeah. But, you know, like I said, they're going to be spending money, and then eventually those 21-year-olds are going to become 31-year-olds, and their vibe's going to be a little different, and they're still going to be coming back because they like this place.
So it's an interesting topic because the older crowd doesn't like that. They want to keep it the culture.
Yes.
But the reality is these restaurants need to make money. Yep. So a really good example of that is Aero Club.
Yeah.
Aero Club for decades was this old school dive bar.
Yep.
With an older clientele. It was dark. I don't know if they had that. I've been in San Diego for 3.5 years, but from what I've been told, it was like a completely different culture 10 plus years ago.
Yes.
And since COVID, or maybe around that time, it was bought by Waterfront Group. Yep. And they expanded into the next building. They threw arcade games. They've totally changed the entire culture of that bar. And I think during the daytime, it still does have that older clientele, but like there's your perspective of we need to adapt and change, which is the truth. Yep. And then there's like the old school customer way of saying, yo, dude, you've ruined our great bar.
Yeah.
Like it's an interest. I'm not saying one's right or the other, but it's an interesting thing to talk about and think about. Like I was at Waterfront the other night. They just broke down. I'm sorry. I was at Aero Club the other night. They shut down for a month. They completely changed the entire front bar, the whiskey shelf, and it's all new. That old wooden look and feel does no longer exist. And if you were to walk in there for the first time, you would say, oh my gosh, this is a beautiful bar. This is a great spot. But from those guys who have been going there for decades, that does not exist.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting to...
I think it just depends, honestly, as the business owner. You know, like from my perspective, if I was in the business owner's shoes, I would want more money and I'd want my bar to do well. And then you get new regulars and it, you know, whatever. And there's people and bar owners in the industry who are not like that.
Yeah.
They're comfortable, you know, making rent. They just love what they do.
Yeah.
They don't, you know, and they're fine with that. And that's kind of where, you know, the regulars can go and they can shift to, and there's always going to be spaces like that.
Yeah.
It just depends on the goal of the business owner at the end of the day.
Yeah. Because the most important thing is, can you pay your bills?
Can you pay your bills? Can you pay your staff?
Money? Yeah. Are you making money?
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just, I think that like working in this industry for a long time, I work at Stout Public House and it is sort of an older clientele.
Yeah.
And it does have that like a little bit of, I don't want to say like history because it's been there for 18 years, but like the customers, there's customers that are going to be there tonight who are there on days 1, 2, 3, 4 the first week.
Yep.
And it's like one of those kind of places. And those, if we turn into a social media Instagram bar, it would change the entire fucking concept. And it's just like, I don't know. There's pros and cons to that. I think you know, my friend, I don't know if you've ever met this guy, Gabe, he's a photographer he works at some
I met him at Mavericks. He was doing the Super Bowl or something.
He has long black hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy. We were just talking. He was like, yeah, dude, like social media can change the culture of these places.
110%. And
it's like from an owner's perspective in business, it's about money, you know, but I don't know. I do like the history of these places and bars, and like you have like a Lancers who's been around since I think the 40s, and it's like that's like the same. That not much has changed there, and they're still kicking. So
And there's things that people enjoy about that too. You know, it's not every single person that's on TikTok that's welcome to the bar and like that's not every single person that's seeing those videos. Some of them are, 45-year-old moms who passively scroll and their username is like username 008, and they're going to go to these older places or places that aren't TikTok bars, as you said, and have a fantastic time.
I think I did. So Chelsea runs the bar up there at Lancers, and they started taking credit cards.
Yeah.
And they said she told me, she said it's slightly changed the clientele late at night, because now you do have those kids coming in with credit cards, their parents' credit cards and stuff like that, who can now spend time there. But it's about money. It's about money
at the end of the day. And I think too, there's a bunch of studies out that's like Gen Z is drinking less than any other generation. Have you seen that?
Yeah, dude, it's absolutely.
And I think, some of them aren't. Like personally, that's not my journey, but a lot of people aren't. The pandemic impacted things, or they're doing, other methods of things, or they're smoking before they go to the bar, or if they even, want to go out. And so having places that are maybe less stimuli heavy, where you can sit down with a friend and maybe you brought a deck of cards and you have a drink or two and you leave.
Yep.
And that's the time that you come and consume alcohol. You want spaces for people like that too. If they drink once every 3 months and they just want to go for one glass of wine because their friend they haven't seen in forever invited them out, you need spaces that are welcoming for that too.
Mm-hmm. It's how do you get people in the door? And you do see these people doing the virgin cocktails, and because of the trends, and it's like paying attention to this stuff.
Yeah. And I think there's a new workplace that opened up that's fully a mocktail space. Is it in North Park?
Yeah, so that's Good News Bar.
Yes.
That's interesting. They were in the news recently because they fired their like, I don't know, you could take a look at that, but that was like, they went on this project, they went on this like 2-year social media thing talking about opening this great bar, and I went and visited them, and I went and talked to those 2 women who were running the bar, and it's a beautiful place. I mean, they designed that bar perfectly, and then 30 days in, the 2 women quit, and there was this controversy about it and stuff like that, but it's a sober bar, and I don't know if it's gonna, hopefully you root for these places.
Yeah.
I don't root for any of these places to fail, but it's an interesting concept. Like, do those places work? Like, is that going to work long time? Who knows?
But I think having an opportunity at a place that does serve alcohol with non-alcoholic drinks or, products, I think like Seedlip or these, non-alcoholic spirits, give people the access to come to these spaces. So whether it's like, I have work tomorrow, but I still want to feel the community of, can I order a drink, instead of being the person at the bar? It's like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
Because then it kind of feels isolating, or being able to take a shot, even though it's not alcohol. I think having those kinds of things, that's another way to get more people in.
I think hospitality is about providing community.
Yes.
And we got to find ways to do that. Mm-hmm. Adapt. Have you ever done a podcast before?
I have.
Yeah. Oh, you had your own podcast.
For a minute, just for funsies.
I kind of just checked that out on the YouTube page.
Yeah.
On their podcast that you were doing, what were some of the things you? I think you said you were just practicing.
Basically, just having portfolio like for clips and stuff.
Yeah. Is that something you'd ever want to like get into, doing a podcast or pursue?
I think so. I mean, I think it's interesting. Like on my personal TikTok page, I have like 75,000 followers. So like,
oh damn!
I just like shit post stuff though. So the thing is, if I had a strategy, I think it could do really well. Yeah. But my niche is just myself, and so that's a niche, But I think it's fun, and I love content creation, and so I think finding a balance between. I mean, at the end of the day, I monetized my hobby.
Fuck yeah, dude!
Which is the dream, but then you also have to find either hobbies that aren't monetized, or you're going to feel like you're working all the time.
Yes.
And
it's a balance, because then your pleasure becomes work.
Exactly. And finding that work-life balance when your career is just on your phone. And then when I go to respond to a text and I see a text from a client or an Instagram tag notification, it becomes, well, now I'm locked back in and now I'm on work.
Yeah. And then also when you're so like locked into that, then you start like in your personal life, you're like talking to people as if you're doing, you know what I mean? It gets like narcissistically.
No, it does. And it's weird. So like, if you're seeing friends, like how's things been going? Well, it worked. And it's like, you're more than that. And I am really grateful as I was growing the business that my friends let me not shut the fuck up about it. But now I have more things going on to talk about. And I got a work phone.
Oh,
Game
nice.
changer.
Yeah.
Game changer.
Why is that?
New number. So when I meet clients, I give them that.
Okay.
And I think that limits the fact that you don't have access to me 24/7. That's
Yeah.
not professional. It's like an email. You have the expectation, from 9 to 5, you will hear from me. Anything outside of that is a yes or a no, depending. No, I always say no one's ever died over an Instagram story.
Seriously.
So it's like you don't get access to me like that.
One big thing I've learned in the restaurant industry is the ability to say no to people.
Yes.
And that's tough because you want you want to keep your job, you want to have money, you want to have good relationships with people, with bosses, but people will run you dry and run you to the ground. And you have to find that balance of being like a team player and having boundaries.
Yeah. And I think it's really hard to say no until you say no and realize nothing really changes. It's not like you're fired.
Yeah.
The second I started having the boundaries, they started being met. And if they weren't being met, I have a work phone and I plug it in at like 7:00 and I'm not responding.
Yeah.
And then over time, they realize she's not going to be responding, and then they adapt.
I think I was from the mindset of like, if you say yes, like you want to be the guy who can handle all this stuff.
Yeah.
And a team player. Like I've played on sports teams my entire life. I've worked on, the bar as a team. Like you want to be there for your coworkers. You want to be there for people, but you realize like this is a fucking business.
Yeah.
And it's transactional. And what I've learned is people will push you to your limits and see how much they can get from you.
Yes.
And make you do. And unfortunately, and this comes from not just like your boss, but the customers. How much can the customer pull out of you? How much attention can I get from you? How can I get you to give me free drinks?
Yes.
And it like that's what I've dealt with over the years in my industry is it's like a negotiation, transactional haggling thing that exists heavily in this industry.
Yeah.
From the bartender to the customer, from the bartender to the manager, from the bartender to the kitchen. And I would imagine in your case, it's probably the same thing.
It is. And, like I said, I only take clients that I really believe in. And so it's finding that balance too of like, I want to support them and I believe in their mission and I want the bartenders to have a packed house so they bring home a bunch of tips and like all of these things. But at what point am I sacrificing myself?
Yeah.
Because you can't give because then you have nothing else to give to yourself,
work-life balance,
which is really hard, but I'm getting better at it.
Good, dude. Good. That's why I moved out here. I grew up in Massachusetts and I was like, I was working, I think there's a point over COVID where I was working at 7 different bars, 7 nights a week. No, not 7. No, I'm sorry. Let me take that back. I was working at 4 different bars, 7 nights a week.
Jeez.
And it's too consuming.
Yeah.
I know because like you pride yourself on work ethic and the ability to handle high volume and more, but it's like, you can only do that for so long.
Yeah.
And you gotta it's like we have lives, you want to have relationships and you want to grow in life and like someday have families and stuff like that. And I know we're a little bit different in age gap,
yeah.
But when you get to be in your mid 30s, these are things that I'm like, I really have to start focusing on these things,
Yeah. And I still think about it, like, okay, a couple of years down the line, do I want to be, that's why, I have a team and I'm expanding and I trust them to go to content shoots. And I have one of the people on my team that will get on a plane and go film with a client. And it's, first of all, that's, feels like sending your kid off to school. It's kind of like, ooh, you're representing me without me being there to control.
It's scary.
It's scary, but it's necessary. I don't want to be, 40 with a child and I'm too worried about getting an Instagram story up that I can't be, a present parent and things like that. So you have to start putting out feeders of
and
boundaries.
the lucky thing is you're thinking about these now and you have time to set yourself up. And I think like the biggest thing young people in this industry can do is like save their money, take care of themselves and like build relationships.
Yeah.
Like those 3 things are really important as the years go on,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that was a big tough thing for me coming out here is I didn't have any of those relationships, but what else, dude? What else? You working on anything these days? Do you have like new, brands that you're trying to work with? Like, what does the future look like for Rain?
Well, we're taking on new clients for the new quarter of the new year. So
Okay.
I'd like to get that roster full, But other than that, just growing and figuring out what works and adapting, So if tomorrow there's a new platform that we need to do, fantastic. expanding the team and just getting our clients successful and all of that. We're working on kind of rebranding the agency a little bit and, elevating some content and stuff because we've been prioritizing our clients, which is what we have to do, obviously. And it's paying off tremendously, millions of views organically, which is great. So our agency social media is kind of lacking a little bit. And it's like, okay, we need to represent ourselves too. So that way, our clients or potential clients look and they're like, okay, they're getting, a good amount of traction on their own stuff.
Yeah. So you've been doing Garcia Media for how long?
We've been like a registered LLC business. It was a year in May. But I've been freelancing since 2020.
2020. Okay. What do you think like long term? Like when you're when you're 10 years down the road professionally, like what do you want to be doing?
I think, there's two avenues. Either like it lights me up and it's so fun and I'm editing podcasts and I'm making TikToks and I'm having like the best time, which is how I feel right now. Or, the other agency route a lot of people do is they get their agency acquired.
Okay.
So they get their agency bought out by a different agency. And I don't know the entire process of that because I haven't gotten that far, but I know that that's a thing. And maybe I do that and then I have a different career or an avenue I pursue and they bring me on as a COO or I go work somewhere else. But that's always an option too. Yeah,
the editing and the behind the scenes stuff I'm really intrigued by that. I love that kind of stuff.
I think it's so fun, like getting a podcast and a file from a client and I edit it and then I put the intro in and I pull the clips. I think that is so fun. And my brain thinks in hooks now and like sound bites. So even talking right now, I'm like,
dude.
That was a clip. That was a clip. That wasn't a clip.
That's how my mind is the same fucking way. And you don't know these things when you're younger, like the producer and things like you don't know. Those are just business roles. But when you start to do them, like editing, I use Premiere Pro to edit. Like I love using Lightroom. I'm a big Adobe guy. And it's like I spend like way more time doing that stuff than I do actually recording.
Yeah. And it's fun playing around with it and trying different things with it. Also, you got to get on Descript. That's the best platform for editing podcasts, I think.
What's Descript?
It's an editing platform for podcasts. You can sync your audio and do all those things, but then it transcribes the whole podcast, right?
Yep.
And to clip it down, you just highlight words and you backspace. And then you can move it around a little bit. Oh. And for like clips, it's like, okay, I want to start at this word. I copy paste. I move it to a new it's so user friendly.
Really?
And so it's sped up the things that aren't that fun. Like trimming things a little bit and all of those sort of things and cutting out the ums. It'll highlight,
really?
Or it'll highlight all of the times I said which is probably a lot.
Andrew,
and I can just click backspace, take them all out. And it syncs the footage still and it's so user friendly.
I'm going to try that because editing these clips
Descript on Premiere. Send me money.
Premiere Pro, it's just time. It's a lot of time.
It's
a lot of time and I enjoy it. But like, I remember I was like, oh, I could go out to the bar tonight or I could sit home and edit an Instagram reel. And then boom, 4 hours later, I got that out.
Yeah.
And it's like, totally. I don't think people realize how much time goes into spending on that stuff.
And and that's part of like what we talked about, like the invalidation of it all. It's like, well, you just like made a reel.
Right.
It's like, okay, you make it.
Yeah.
You make it, you write the caption and you post it and see how well it does.
And then you got it. Now we're in like the cover photo and like, that's like a whole thing.
And then, it's the cover photo and it's trimming and making sure that your caption's SEO and all those things that people don't think about.
But it's fun. I enjoy it.
So fun.
I wish you're making money. Congrats. I'm at a point now where I'm like, how do I turn this thing into somehow where in the future I can make money creatively? Because like that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard to monetize podcasts, but like there's so many different avenues. Like my thought process is like use something like this as a tool to get hired at some sales position.
Yes. I think we kind of talked about this, but like the ROI of podcasts is so interesting because either you get signed to a network and you get ads and there's ad breaks between this and brands are paying you money, or it's an avenue for something else where you have a following and then you can become a brand rep or work here and work at someone, all of that. And there's a bunch of different interesting ways to make money from your podcast, but it's kind of different. You know what I mean?
It's hard and you got to go find that and figure it out. That's like what I'm thinking of these days. And that's what I kind of wanted to ask your advice because I'm kind of in the bar world trying to learning the media stuff and you're in the media world and you're doing the bar stuff.
Yeah.
Like that was what my thought process was like, dude, I have friends who are like brand ambassadors.
Yes.
And I'm like, dude, if you're in that role and you have a tool like this, like that's what this is, it's a vehicle for promotion and
Yes.
sales.
Yeah. I mean, one of my other clients is a hospitality podcast, and it's like the avenues of, he'll get brand deals for that page because he has a big audience, and
Yeah.
it won't be, it'll be an ad read on the podcast. He's not in a network, but brands will reach out. And then it's also the networking of, hey, can you come be a guest on my podcast? I've had this person on. It's a good selling point. My clips get this many views.
Yeah.
And people are on their press tours for their book or their liqueur launch or whatever. And they want to come on and they want to talk to you, and you build that network. And
Yep.
it's a
all
fantastic funnel.
It's a cool thing. And I think it takes there's a lot of teams that do this because of the amount of time that goes into it. But it's just me. But I don't know. I was thinking of because there are people who will be lifers in the bar for their whole careers.
Yeah.
And then most people find avenues and they move on to different roles, whether it's managing a bar, if you can find a way to own a bar, if you can represent brands and stuff like that. So it's this whole concept of this podcast is creative growth in the hospitality industry. And there's so many ways that people can, because we need to make money.
Yeah.
And what happens when you're behind the bar for your career is your body starts to break down.
I hear that a lot. Yeah, you're standing on your feet all the time. Eventually, that's not going to be sustainable.
It's late nights. It's you're shaking drinks. You're moving around. It's high stress.
Probably
right?
messing with your sleep schedule.
Well,
like
if
all
you
those
care
things.
about your job, it does add stress for you. If you don't care about your job, then you just go through the motions, and it doesn't really take anything out of you. But when you do have those high volume hours, and you have massive groups, the repetition of that week after week, eventually dealing with difficult customers, it's dealing with the ins and outs of the industry. It does, you think about these things.
Yeah.
And I think that the way that social media is evolving, I'm in this mindset of how do you take the next step and drive sales from the cell phones and the digital era?
And I think there's a lot of people online that are cocktail influencers that work at the bar and they're filming there, or they're just at home making cocktails, and they get a certain amount of followers and they enter the TikTok creator fund and they make a butt ton of money.
Yeah.
And so that's another avenue. You just have to do it, and you have to like being on camera and have a good personality and a strategy, but that's another way to do it.
Yeah, that's for a lot of people I know, they're well, I'm not doing that TikTok shit. I couldn't be fake like that. It's a thing. Your on camera self is it's kind of funny, dude. It's because it's different.
Yeah.
And it's hard to kind of get into that. You're kind of a little bit, it's not an actor. I try to be really myself on here, but I don't know, dude. It's kind of fucking.
Even with my clients though, I'll be talking to them, and then, we'll go to film, especially if they're not comfortable on the camera. And I kind of have to be hey, for this to work, I know you're just talking to me and telling me your thing, but I need you to be hey, and it might not feel fully organic, but you have to
fake it.
You don't even have to fake it. You just got to dial it up a little bit.
Let's get some energy,
Get
Let's
some
play
energy,
some music,
Pretend you're talking to a friend.
It's really fucking hard for me. I've tried to make videos. I've done self-reflection videos that I post. Doing my own work in my apartment with no one else, that's really challenging for me.
Why?
Who the fuck am I talking to? I'm talking to a camera.
Pretend there's someone on there though.
But that's requires a level of narcissism that is hard for me. I'm just saying. I'm just speaking freely. I'm not saying everybody who does it, but for me to it's challenging to get in that zone.
But I think once you start to build an audience, there is someone there. So then it's not as narcissistic. So you kind of just have to fake it till you make it a little bit of well, once I grow this, I will have people I'm talking to. And Susie from Michigan, who comments on all my TikToks, now I'm doing it for her. And
so you're picturing Susie when you're doing the videos?
That was more an example for you, but
okay.
But yeah, I mean, there are people on the other end. You just got to get there.
I think the reason that I have found the ability to do this is because I have a guest to talk to, and even though the camera's here and we're talking to a third person, ideally, it's oh, we're interacting. And I think it's just I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, having a solo podcast is probably harder because you're just talking at.
What? Let me ask you this: what age did you start using a cell phone?
When did I start using a cell phone?
Yeah,
I got one a flip phone when I was 5, but that was so I could call my grandma.
Okay.
But I got an iPhone in about 6th grade, but I wasn't allowed to have social media till 8th grade high school, and I definitely had some before that and just didn't tell my parents.
That was about social media came out. Facebook, I had one in 8th, 9th grade, but I was using a smartphone until my 20s.
Yeah.
So generationally, we are kind of different. You know what I mean? Like, I think you guys have grown up with this, like, the Instagram, the TikToks and stuff like that.
Growing up wanting to be a YouTuber, you watched someone instead of TV. I watched these people on YouTube every single day, and they were like, welcome to my channel. Da, da, da. So I think your brain kind of adapts to it a little bit more. It
adapts. It's like, because you see people in their like 40s trying to do this stuff, and it's just a little, it's tougher for them.
It is tougher, but that's kind of why they hire me.
That's true. That's why they hire you. I tell them what
to say, and I tell them to amp up their energy, and then I get the footage, and they don't have to think about it anymore.
And that's a service, and that's the service, and that's perfect.
Yeah.
Like, we need those things.
Or they have a podcast where it's guests like this, and I clip it, and they go viral, and they don't have to do anything else. Yeah, they don't have to do sit down footage. They have the conversation where they actually feel like themselves, and people see the authenticness, and it does well. It just depends.
Yeah. So you said one of your clients is a hospitality podcast.
Yeah.
So what is some of the work that you do for that person?
So he will do like brand deals. So I'll film traditional content with him. I'll film him making cocktails.
Oh, so he's a he's a bartender.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're okay. And
he's a bar owner, bartender
who has a podcast.
Yes.
And you're doing the social media work for him.
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll film that, and then I'll clip the show. It's on Zoom.
Okay.
The clips will do really well. I have the privilege of when he has brand deals, I get to travel with him, which is really, really cool.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, so it's kind of doing that for him. So that way he films the episodes and doesn't really have to think about it.
So he's the on-camera person.
He's the face.
And then you're the behind-the-scenes one that makes work.
Yes.
Yeah, dude, it does take a team to do it successfully sometimes.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think I always say, to any client, you went into business, most clients, you went into business to be a business owner, or you made your podcast to be a podcaster or whatever, not to be a social media manager.
Yeah.
But nowadays you need it. And I think when people talk about social media management or how much it costs and all these things, if you think about a traditional marketing budget where you're doing flyers or you make a billboard and you have no clue how many people see it, it's not that big of an investment when you really think about it.
Interesting stuff, dude. Interesting stuff. Okay. What else? What other things can we talk about today? I got storytelling for hospitality brands, sales, pitching, and client growth.
We can talk about that a little bit, like how I pitch people.
Yeah. Like, what's that process like?
So there's a couple different ways of pitching. There's cold pitching on emails. For that, you have to show that you did your research. It's not just, hi, I want to run the social media for your bar. It's okay. Like, I came in on Thursday and I had the privilege of getting this drink and it was fantastic. And here's why I want to represent you. But also language is really important.
Yeah.
So making sure that you're positioning your email is not, I want to be your social media manager. You have to give me something then, the way I worded that. It's effort. It's, let me take this off of your plate. I would love to help you be able to do your other things.
Gotcha.
Let me take one less task for you. Off of your plate. Let me help you. And then it helps with
you got to show that you care and
Yes.
show that you're trying to invest in them and you're not just like looking for a quick hit and run and a cash grab.
Yeah, it's not just I want your money. It's I want you to succeed.
I want to build a relationship with you guys. I want to be part of this team moving forward.
Yeah.
That's what I've tried to do is like this podcast goes better when I invest in my guests and I try to visit them. I try to spend money on them. I try to help share their work, tell people about them because,
I mean, also it's a long game too. So if you go into every interaction, like if I came into this and I was like, well, I want to do the social media for you, like the bar that you work at, that's transactional. Maybe someone I meet at a meeting, they have a business and they think I'm really cool. And then 3 years down the line, they need someone for something and they remember me,
That's where you're playing for.
But not even that you're playing for, it's building that relationship and then the rest of it speaks for yourself. A lot of the work that I do, obviously we get clients from cold pitching, but a lot of it is word of mouth referral. I worked with this person, they did a fantastic job and they're not terrible to be around.
Dude, that's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm making someone talk to me on a camera, like talk to me, like I'm behind the camera, they need to feel comfortable and they need to like who I am. And I can't just, hi, okay, I'm going to film this now. Like that's not entertaining or helpful for anyone.
Yeah. It's a vulnerable, relationship.
Yeah,
doing
it
this
is.
kind of stuff when you're making content with people.
It really is.
And it's like you want to do that with somebody you feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right about the references and stuff. Like that's what I try to say. Like when I talk to people about coming on here, I'm like, I've done this 17 times. You feel free to reach out to any of the men and women who have done this, and I believe they say good things about the experience.
Yeah.
Because that's really important. You have if one guest goes, that person actually kind of sucked. It's not good because they go tell everybody.
Well, even in the hospitality industry, like I said, I've gotten so many referrals of like, hey, like I'm so-and-so. I was connected to you by the business owner of so-and-so. If I do a bad job, which I don't, but if I did a bad job, that's going to spread like wildfire. Like, hey, this girl used me for money, or I didn't get a good investment.
Exactly.
And then that's not a good reputation you want to have either.
Same thing being a bartender, dude.
Yes.
You get caught stealing, you do some unethical shit at work, that's like a black marker in your record.
Yeah, you're blacklisted. You're never going to work again.
But no, the way that you and I got connected was Jess Roscoe referred me to you. Yeah, she's really nice. She came in the bar on Monday night, actually. It was her birthday.
Happy birthday.
So that was fun. Yeah, she's cool, man. She's kind of like, she's doing her thing. She's at, what's that little diner over by the Lafayette? Not
what is the name?
Not Mabel's. It's Great Maple.
Yes.
She's at Great Maple. That's a great spot.
Yeah.
I really like that restaurant. It's a really good diner.
Yeah, see, and that's cool. I met her one time. We followed each other on Instagram. We like each other's stories, and that's a relationship where I'm going to refer you to this person.
That's what I'm fucking saying, dude. It's the relationships and being kind to people and you're fucking and going to visit people and all these pop-ups and stuff. It's a good way to go show some appreciation and love.
Yes.
All right. Do you have any questions for me by any chance? Like, what would you want? Okay, you're a social media manager, and you have a bartender sitting in front of you. Where's your like? I don't know.
Like, what would I do to them to make them blow up and make money, or what do you mean?
Like I'm sure you go into bars. You understand that have you ever worked in a bar before?
No.
Never worked in a restaurant. Okay.
I worked in a restaurant, never worked in a bar.
What'd you do for the restaurant?
I was a food runner expo, like in high school.
Oh, nice. What kind of restaurant was that?
It was at a water park.
Oh,
it was really fun.
Interesting.
So it was there was like a bunch of restaurants at the water park, and there was like private cabanas. So I guess it kind of was a bar back too for a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you, if the social media thing doesn't work out, do you ever think about opening a bar?
No.
No interest?
I think running a business is really hard.
Yes, it is.
And I think running that kind of business, there's so many elements that I just don't think I'm cut out for.
Yes, I've never ran a bar before, but I've worked alongside of owners for the last 7+ years, and I talk to them about their process, dude. And there is a lot that goes into it, dude.
There's so many things in paying your staff, and what if your refrigerator breaks? Who do you call? I don't know. I don't want to know.
Break. Things break all the time, and it's very expensive.
Yes.
And yeah, dude, I know. It's like the ice machine's breaking, the kegs, the coolant doesn't work, the CO2 is out. It's like the Pepsi gone,
And you have to know how to do all of that.
And that's the thing is you have to know how to fix that stuff.
Yes.
And so what happens is you have these investors, these people with money who haven't come up through the system, who buy and start bars, and they don't realize how much work it takes. But they were at a dinner party and somebody said, "Oh, you're really good at hosting us. You should open a bar." And their ego goes, "Yeah, let's open a bar." And then they go, "Oh my gosh, this is so much work. What the fuck did we get ourselves into?"
Yeah.
And so that's why I've been fortunate to work around people who have come up in the industry for their whole careers and decades, and it's just different.
Yeah,
it's just different.
And I think not even like question for you per se, but getting to work with different clients in these industries. Like when I started freelancing with Gillies, I didn't know anything about hospitality. I wasn't 21 yet. I turned 21 after they had signed their contract. It lined up perfectly, but it was like the first meeting when they were redoing it. I was like, okay, I just turned 21. Can I get like a tequila sunrise?
Right. You don't even know what to order.
No.
Yeah.
And then now I know all of these things and these lingos, and I know that, the inner workings of stuff, which is so interesting to learn, but I would have never learned. I wouldn't have been in this industry at all.
That's tough. How are you're selling an industry that you don't really have the experience in. And like, it's about learning that. You got to go spend time at bars in order to promote bars.
Yeah. If you want to do a good job, you have to learn the inner workings of all of that,
I became a way better bartender. I didn't really go out to bars for a long time. I just wouldn't. I worked in restaurants. I was an athlete for a while. Like I wasn't really a big drinker. And then I started working in bars more. And like in just the last few years, especially in San Diego, like I worked in bars in New Jersey, New York City for a bunch of years. And even there, I didn't really go out, but like going out and being a customer and observing everything from the other side, it makes me way better of a bartender.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm just picking up on things because sometimes I go, oh shit, the bartender is really rude to that person. I do that sometimes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You know, it's
and I'm
like
sure it's
little
both. It's like,
things.
oh, I don't want to do that, but that was cool. I want to do that.
That's a little trick. Yeah. Oh, I was really interesting how that person handled that situation. You know, a crackhead just walked in and grabbed the water cooler off the bar and the bartender chased him out of the bar. Ooh, I do that sometimes. How does that?
I do that all the time.
But like, no, it's just like it's like, that's where it comes from, your tenure working in restaurants, and where people can like, you can tell the little things that you pick up on that you would only known if you had spent 10 years working in bars, or spent 5 years working as a social media manager.
Exactly. And then I can make it like memes that are about like bartender life. And it's like, okay, I know now, even though I'm not a bartender. And if you didn't really care about your clients and your job, you would just kind of, you know, like you said, not show up, film some content, and then leave and not care.
Go through the motions, not really understand what they're looking for. Do you have friends that you hang out with who work in bars?
Who work in bars?
Yeah, or restaurants?
Not really.
Huh.
I mean, now that I'm in the industry, yes.
Okay.
Like friends that I've made, and I'll go out and see them at their places. But traditional friends I did not have before I do this now.
Huh. Yeah, that's. I guess you would probably get a leg up if you had some people in the industry helping you out. What are some of your favorite bars to go to? Do you have any? Are you a big drinker? Are you going out?
Yeah. Trying to think. Let me ponder. I mean, Gillies, obviously.
You go drinking there on your nights off?
I do. It's a good spot. I love free pool.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
The Lafayette's cool to like take people to. It's not very sustainable to afford drinks.
It's very nice.
It's very.
What I like about that spot, which I've been going to lately, is I get off at work at like 2:00 in the morning, 3:00 in the morning. They have a 24-hour diner.
Yeah, they do.
I've been crushing some chicken sandwiches late night there.
Yeah, it's a good spot, and it's open late.
Yeah, that's. But no, I think Gillies. They have a good staff there.
They do.
I don't know them too well, but they've always seemed to be personable when I go in. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's the people in the bar industry, like we were talking about earlier, like to like, you know, compare each other. How many, like, where have you worked? How many mixology cocktails can you make and stuff like that? But if people are like friendly and outgoing, like, I'm always like, oh, you know, I'll tip my cap to that person, you know?
Yeah. And it just depends on like what vibe I'm going to go for. Do I want to go to American Junkie and spin the wheel and have a bottle girl like punch me? You know, it depends on the night. Am I trying to go, you know, look at the sunset? Okay, I'll go sit at Shore Club and I'll have a beer. It just depends on what I'm in the mood for.
So I saw on your Instagram you were in Vegas recently.
Yeah, I love Vegas. Vegas loves me. I love Vegas.
So when you're there, are you like buying bottles? Are you doing like going to the clubs? What's Rain's Vegas scene look like? You don't have...
In the least douchey way possible, being a pretty girl in Vegas goes really, really far, in the sense where you'll like work with a good promoter and they'll have a table of just like girls that they get paid to bring to the bar.
Oh, wow.
Like, so at the club scene, basically you'll meet a promoter. They'll invite you to the club. You don't have to pay a cover. You get and go to a special line. They have a booth that's just, or like a table that's just girls. So there's not like a creepy old men thing going on, which is fantastic. And the club pays them like per head that they bring in. Okay. So if you bring in this person, you bring in, you know, this many girls, the club is probably going to make this much money because this many guys are going to come to a ratio of this to a this. And you don't have to spend any money.
Work in the system. That's
how
it works in Vegas. What are some of the favorite bars, clubs to go to in Vegas?
Live nightclub's always pretty cool.
Okay, I've heard of that.
Hakkasan on Thursdays is very fun. It's in the MGM.
Okay.
And I stayed in the MGM the last time I went, so I just had to go downstairs and then I could come back up. So it was fantastic. Other good spots, Zook's pretty cool. The day clubs are always really, really fun. Yeah, but I love Las Vegas.
Yeah.
What's the restaurant? Urban Rye.
Okay.
That place, I think that's the name.
Do you ever go to like dive bars in Vegas, or do you? No, now you're seeing. That's cool. No worries.
Scene.
That's sort of I like finding different cool. I don't have I don't just go to like cocktail bars or dive bars or clubs or anything like that. I like to experience new places, dude.
Yeah. And that's what I do, like, you know, like besides when I'm in Vegas, like when I'm in San Diego, I have an album in my phone of things I found on social media or things I've been referred to on notes. And then I'll like screenshot it and put it in the same camera roll album.
Okay.
Of like hundreds of restaurants and bars. And every time I go to do something with my friend, like tomorrow we're going to go, there's an emo Christmas pop-up in downtown. So we're going to go there. And then it's like, okay, this, Aero Club, that's how I found it. My friend was like, oh, you should go. Okay. So I wrote it down, and the next time I needed to hang out with a friend, we should go here. I heard this place was cool. And so I like going to non-repeat places to try them all. And then I found, my new go-to spots. You
have one connection with one person there, and you go, boom, we found our spot.
Boom, we found our spot. And then it's, trivia on this day and, this, and it's, you keep going back.
I think that's what makes people, that's a huge aspect of why people go back, is because of the connection they have there. Yeah. And there are some bars that only play to we're in sort of this like Instagrammable era where these spaces, right? Like that's like a trend.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to ask you about like that. Your opinion on that is there are they create these spaces that look great on the TikTok videos and the Instagram videos and the selfies. But sometimes no shots fired. Those places don't have the best hospitality.
Yeah.
And because they focus so much on the spaces and less about the connection, because they know that the customer's coming in there to take the photos and they want to be seen, as opposed to like, I work at South Public House, which is a neighborhood spot. It's all about conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just talking to people all day. It's less about creating this elixir of a cocktail and more about like, tell me I'm the therapist.
Yeah. And that's the more longevity. Like a couple nights ago, I went somewhere, I'm not going to say where, it was an Instagrammable spot, and we want to go, and because they have this and we have this, and we take a sip of our drinks, and my friend didn't even think, she just automatically goes, this tastes like shit. And it's like, okay, we're not ordering a second round, and we're not going to come back.
$19 down the drain.
$19 down the drain. It's pretty in here, but at what cost? My drink tastes like ass.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got to find, yeah.
And our server was nowhere to be found. And it's just, you're not going back.
And it's when you're at a spot, like, what are you playing to? Cause I don't know if you can't please everybody. You can't please Instagram people. You can't please the locals. You can't please the, people who are looking for fast service and a bunch of attention. What is it when you're at a spot? What is your thing? And it just depends on what you're looking for.
I'm a social butterfly. Like, was my server cool? I'll tip you 50% if you were like, great. I'm a conversationalist. You take your time. How's your day been? And I've been noticing too lately, like if we have a cashier or a server or anything, and I'm like, how's your day been going so far? Like I was shopping on Black Friday, and they're kind of like, oh, you care about me as a person? And then, they're giving you free drinks and you're having this good rapport. I think that's my favorite thing, that relationship and just chatting.
What I've learned as a bartender is a lot of the people who come see you deal with stresses in their lives, and they don't have that interaction with people. So just like a simple thing of like just giving someone your attention, asking how their day is, talking to them, people appreciate that. And that's how you build relationships. Like we were saying, this is a business of building relationships with people. And you do that with 100 people, 2 of them, I was offered a job at Hotel Del because I was just kind to somebody for months on end. And then that person said, hey dude, we have a position opening up at Hotel Del as a part-time this. You'd be really, I run this program. You should come in for an interview. Yeah. And it's like, it took 500 people to get there, but it's like, you'd be surprised. You'd be really surprised at taking an interest in people's lives, the return on investment, like down the road.
Exactly. It's just the building the relationships with not wanting anything in return.
Right. That's what I try to say. Like you can memorize all the cocktails. You can be the fast bartender in the world, coolest, have all the man bun tattoos, but it's like, trying to be kind, just kind. You can't entertain everybody, be the monkey on the stage dancing. I think just trying and look, when you've closed the bar down 5 nights in a row and you're on your last wits, it's hard to do that sometimes. I get burnt out, but I try to remind myself just to be kind to people, to take a deep breath and to just like, that is the hospitality industry is like, we're there to serve you and to try to, people ask, what does hospitality mean to you? Everybody gives a different answer to that. I think my answer is just like, can I help you enjoy the time that you have in whatever way that I can think of or that is, but I can't please everybody. I can't give everybody what they want, but I can try to just be kind and listen to people. That's what I try to do. So,
yeah. And like you said, if someone's at the bar, I've heard people like, people that I know in the hospitality space say, that might be the first time in 4 days that person left the house and talked to an actual person.
Legit.
And, they need that. So I think that's important.
Yeah. Yeah. What else, Rain? I mean, we've been doing this.
I feel like we touched everything, right?
You feeling good? Yeah, dude. Do you have any last words? I mean, I've appreciated you coming on here. It's like cool to just, pick your brain, hear your perspective on social media, like anything,
I appreciate you having me on. This was really fun. It was cool.
You're welcome. All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.